Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Yes, very good, mate. Very good. Glad we finally got something to watch back in terms of football, which is nice. Yeah, nice and positive. How about yourself?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well, thanks. Had a nice summer break from the podcast. Missed it, to be fair. Glad we're back doing it again. We've got some other, I guess we could call them podcast regulars now, Ash. Yeah. I think Matthew and Andrew. We've got them joining us today. Matthew, how are you, my friend?
I'm actually a lot better now that the pre-season started, because that period of however long it was just absolutely dire. I didn't want anything to do with football at all. But now we've got pre-season back. It's somewhat positive.
Yes, absolutely. It was kind of exhausting by the end of last season, I think, for all of us. Just so much negativity around, not just us on here, but everything United related. It was just surrounded in negativity, and I think people just got fed up with it in the end. But a page has been turned. I know it's only 2 games into pre-season. A couple of new signings have come in. They've impressed on the tour so far. Things are looking up at the moment. Let's not get too carried away. Andrew, glad you're joining us. How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm in Kansas, so there's that. But yeah, I think that having this nice little break from football, because like you had said, Paul, we were all mentally exhausted by the end of last season, of just the down to the up, then to the down again. It was not a fun season for Manchester United. And so having that break and getting to come back to some football has been very, very nice.
Excellent. And Andrew, I'm going to ask you, how are the family?
We're getting better day by day, Paul. I think that's the best way to put it.
Excellent.
Olivia's starting to get to that point where she's starting to cry more, which is I will take all day long over what we started at.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. And Matthew, you've graduated recently. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
It was about 2 weeks ago now. It just feels weird. I don't even think it's hit me yet that uni's actually over with.
It must be a huge weight off the shoulders, knowing that it's done, it's dusted, it's behind you.
Well,
you've got the...
Yeah, exactly, pretty much.
And
it's
he's
sort of like I'm heading into the real one. Yeah, that's true. Heading out to Phoenix in 4 weeks.
Fantastic.
So that's
I take it you two... Are you staying with Andrew?
Yeah. Yep, staying for the whole 10 days.
Brilliant. I'm jealous of you.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are... Yeah, how about we just make it a big group trip?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Right, let's crack on then. I want to start off the show. This is a United Stand podcast. So I want to say congratulations to Mark and the gang reaching 500,000, 500,000.
Yep.
You already obviously knew that. Subscribers on the YouTube channel. So brilliant work by Mark, Drawlty, Flex, and the rest of the gang. Absolutely outstanding. So let's hope that continues. Before we get into the nitty gritty, during that Leeds game, 2 of the most unlikely things to happen happened. Who of you can tell me what those 2 things were?
Phil Jones' goal.
Yep.
That's one of the 2 things.
And we scored from a counter-attack.
That's it. Oh, no. I jumped the gun there. Oh.
We scored from a corner.
That's it. You got it, Andrew.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one and the same, in fairness. Phil Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, that counter-attack as well, that was reminiscent of United of old. The Rashford goal.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
It was.
Well,
come on, Phil Jones scoring a goal.
Your defence is shit if you're conceding a goal to Phil Jones from a corner.
It wasn't even a goal line scramble or anything. It was an absolute bullet header.
It was.
It's like he's realised that Harry Maguire's coming and just thought, no, I'm going to turn into Harry Maguire here.
Ed Woodward was on the phone afterwards, cancelling the Maguire deal.
Telling Brendan Rodgers, right, forget it, mate.
It's that Phil Jones is actually showing that he is worthy of being the straight-up swap for Harry Maguire, and that's what's actually happening. It's got nothing to do with the fact that Phil Jones is crap. Phil Jones actually is the greatest center back to ever live.
He is, yeah.
We would actually be lucky. Leicester would be lucky to have him.
Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? Come on. Let's get real here. Let's get real. Okay, so what? We're 2 games into pre-season, but okay, we're what? Pretty much 3 weeks into pre-season overall. We've had 2 games. The guys have been together for a long time over there in Australia. It's been positive, as we've been saying at the beginning of since the beginning of the podcast. We've seen youth players stepping up to the plate, showing what they're made of. Let's talk about those just for a moment. I mean, I don't know who jumps in first, but let's show some appreciation for our academy graduates here, because they've come into this preseason. They've really grabbed the ball by the horns. They're really going for it. They're not shying away from anything. Even James Garner in his little cameo appearance just looked so switched on and settled. I mean, I'll come to you first, Ash, obviously, because you are my co-host after all. Yep. Normally I go guest first, but let's just pull him up a little bit. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, anyone can jump in at any point.
I mean, I've been impressed with the academy graduates. I'm glad that that they went on tour and they've actively got minutes every game. I've been a little bit not disappointed, but I'd have liked to have seen Garner get some more minutes, because he's only made sort of 2 15-minute appearances at the end of both games. Obviously, he scored that cracker against Perth as well, but I'd like to see him get more game time. But apart from that, I think Greenwood's impressed. He has really impressed, his movement and his intelligence. Again, I think his finishing, he just needs to calm down a bit, I think, with his finishing, because we know how clinical he is. I think he just needs to take his time and just not overthink too many things. But yeah, scored a great goal against Leeds, and I think he's been comfortable coming off that right-hand side. So, everyone knows that, we need a right winger. But can he be a stopgap until because I don't think it's going to be this summer that we're going to buy anyone big. I think we'll probably go next summer for a big signing like a Sancho or something. But in the meantime, he could fill a gap there for a few games. If he plays well, he could get a continuous spot there. So he's impressed me. I think Chong has had flashes. Gomez has had flashes. It's been positive all round. I think. I think Gomez and Chong, obviously they worked well in the second half against Leeds. Lovely counter attack which led to the penalty. But yeah, it's positive. I'm liking the youngsters. They're hungry and they're offering something new, and I think they're going to be good additions to the squad going into next season.
Absolutely, and let's focus on Chong just for a moment then. Tahith Chong, we've seen him in flashes. A lot of people weren't at least until maybe yesterday, weren't completely sold on Chong, his physicality, his final ball. Andrew, I'll come to you first. Has Chong, I mean, I don't know what your opinion of Tahith Chong was before this preseason, but from what you've seen of him, particularly against Leeds in that second half yesterday, is your opinion of him changed? Do you think, hang on a minute, this guy's actually really good? Or, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I've always been a Tahith Chong fan. Always have been. Honestly, I'm a fan of Chong, Gomez, and Greenwood and Garner, if we really want to get into it. But Tahith Chong specifically, on this tour, I think that he is showing the things that we all saw with the U23 squad that he was doing. And I think that what we're seeing is we are finally seeing Tahith Chong starting to get that confidence, get the confidence that he's needed. And I think that part of the reason why we're seeing so much in this preseason of Greenwood, Chong, and Gomez and not so much of Garner is because I think that Chong, Gomez, and Greenwood are all going to be a part of the first team squad going into this season. I think that they will be regular additions to the first team squad, whether it's starting or bench appearances. And I think that James Gardner will get his occasional appearances, but I think for the most part, Gardner is somebody that is going to be, for this season, probably held back a little bit, and next season he will be given more opportunities. But Tahith Chong is showing the speed and the George Best style of running. That, like, he just seems to kind of just shed tacklers really, really well. And they just kind of glide off of him. And it's something that we've all been impressed with when it comes to Tahith Chong. And I think the only thing that Tahith Chong can do, and it will be for the best for him to add about 10 pounds of lean muscle. If he does that, I think that he has a future, a chance to have a very good future at Manchester United.
And it's doable as well. Look at Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
he's a prime example of that. Yeah.
No, when Marcus came up into the first team, I mean, he was a relatively skinny kid. I mean, his body type actually reminds me a lot of Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford when he first came in. I think that Mason Greenwood and him have a lot of very similar traits in terms of their body style. And that's where I think that if we could see Chong, because I think that if he adds too much weight, it'll take something away from his game. And that's where I think that if you add about 10 pounds of lean muscle, it will make it so you will not get injured as easy. And you'll still have that pace and that tenacity to his game.
Absolutely. And I think, with Tahith Chong, my opinion of him, I knew he was a talent. I knew he had potential. They all do. But I wasn't completely sold on him until that game yesterday. I admittedly didn't and don't watch a lot of the under 23 games, purely I just don't have the time to. But what I seen from him yesterday, just that sheer determination, running through defenders, getting to the byline, making brilliant runs off the ball, timing them perfectly as well. Sometimes he didn't get the pass because he had Ashley Young behind him, so that's probably why. But just the intelligence that he shows, I was really impressed by him last night. And I see what you say about James Garner as well. How you think that the reason he's featuring less at the moment in preseason is because he's not going to be used as much as the other three, Chong, Greenwood and Gomez. And it kind of makes sense, really. So when you look at the signings we're making, they're mainly defensive and midfield. Whereas our attackers, we don't seem to be linked, heavily at least, with any forward players. So it makes sense that Gomez, Greenwood and Chong are getting more minutes than Garner, because we're linked to Savic, we're linked to Bruno Fernandes, we're linked to Longstaff. Obviously, we've had the whole Pogba situation. It looks like he might be staying. So it kind of makes sense. But let's focus on Mason Greenwood now for a moment. And I'll come to you, Matthew, next. Obviously, he had a fantastic season in the under-23s last season. You don't need to follow the under-23s to know about Mason Greenwood. What were your thoughts on Mason Greenwood so far this pre-season?
Yeah, like this pre-season and even the Cardiff game where he made his first ever start, he just looks like someone who wants to get in the ball all the time. Even though he's naturally centre forwards and he'll play there more often than not, you see him sometimes being in a defensive midfield position asking for the ball. And then he'll just pick it up and just run straight at the defence, which I think is something that we kind of missed, really, with a lot of players like Alexis Sanchez or Lukaku, who will just take the ball, look up and then just pass it on, not really make any of those direct runs. So for Mason Greenwood, for him to be doing that at such a young age with so much intent, it's just brilliant to see. And like you said, you don't really need to know much about a youth team to realise that Mason Greenwood's a massive talent. But I think Ole was saying that he'll probably, providing he keeps up and training in the pre-season games, you'll probably get quite a few minutes against Chelsea, which for that massive, that huge game, the first game of the season, to have that much trust in Mason Greenwood, who's not even 18 yet, just shows how willing Ole is to play the youth.
Yeah.
Especially the attackers, which is probably why, to be honest, we've not really been linked to any strikers or wingers. Maybe apart from Mario Icardi, but that's more the sort of hope of the fans rather than, any concrete links. But yeah, it was so good to actually see him getting the first goal as well. It was just, such a good United goal where he just fizzed the ball in from the right-hand side with Wan-Bissaka. A lot of people have criticised his ability going forward, but his crossing today, right into the danger zone, was absolutely perfect. And then Mason Greenwood, with that kind of positioning, was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, if he can keep that up, then don't see why he shouldn't be in the squad against Chelsea.
And it's funny how, I think it was Andrew just a moment ago who compared Greenwood and Rashford in terms of their body type. But for me, when I seen Greenwood score that goal against Leeds, I just had a flashback of Marcus Rashford when he burst on the scene, because that was exactly the sort of position he would be getting himself in, edge of the 6-yard box, making the last minute run to lose his man, find that little pocket of space where the ball's played in, and that's it. Poach it, straight in the bottom corner. Great goal. Great striker's instinct as well. So he's definitely got a lot of potential in him. I like how he's so direct as well. He's not afraid to run at the defender. He can keep the ball, and this is something he's got in signings. And of course, if you want to say something about Greenwood and Gomez, go ahead. But Daniel James, we've seen some football from him now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I've said this before. I was one of the ones who's probably watched Dan James a lot more than 99% of other United fans, because obviously being a Swansea player, I went to see Swansea live a couple of times last season, and I knew sort of what he offered. In particular, the Sheffield United game, I think last year, he come on second half, and he just gave him a different dimension. And I was hoping that he'd bring that same intensity to Manchester United, as I thought he would, because he wants to improve. He's got that mindset that he wants to improve, he wants to get better, he wants to be the best. So I was really pleased to see him sort of take that, especially the first sort of 15 minutes against Perth when he played from the left, causing no end of problems. And then I think he swapped to the right, didn't have as much of an impact. But you saw him against Leeds yesterday. His desire to get forward. I think he still needs to work a little bit on his defensive game, but I don't think that's going to be much of an issue, because he's so energetic and his work rate is unreal. So really, really glad to see him. He was unlucky not to get the goal yesterday in the post, but that is Daniel James in a nutshell. You will see him do that so many times next season, the upcoming season. Now he will overlap and he will provide the front three or front four, however we're playing, with different options and a different level of pace that we haven't seen. And you haven't really seen him get going yet, which is the scary thing. He is lightning. And it's really nice to have that outlet and to have that little bit of fear going forward, because we have Rashford, who is very, very quick, but at times he can be a little bit too one-dimensional and not intelligent enough with his decisions. I think Dan James is similar in some respects, but I think he's got a very good foundation to build upon, and I think he's going to be a decent signing for us.
Yeah, he's definitely a player that's going to need to be nurtured. That's one thing.
Really,
go on.
Really quick, I wanted to talk about Mason Greenwood. I know I kind of talked about all the youth players for a second, but
no, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
When it comes to Mason Greenwood,
that's enough. Now, crack on.
I watched almost every single game that he started in for the U23s, and the natural instincts that he has for football are what make a great player into a superstar. And if he can continue to develop his skills, I genuinely believe Mason Greenwood could be in that conversation of, right now we've got Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. I genuinely believe Mason Greenwood has the ability, because of just his natural instincts and his talent already, if he continues to develop it, could be in that conversation, to be in that like Kylian Mbappe, Jadon Sancho kind of talk.
That is a big claim, bold statement, yeah. But a bold statement it is. But I kind of agree with you.
It's the thing we
and that's coming from someone who hasn't really seen him much other than when he's played for Man United. But from what I've seen of him, like I said to you earlier on, the comparison that you can make with him and Gomez is about how good they are with the ball at their feet and how they can keep the ball close to their feet whilst moving so quickly, just gliding across the ground. That sort of trait, you can build on that, will turn you into a superstar.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. We see things from Mason Greenwood, his ability to get into specific positions on the pitch are something that you don't just learn. Like he knows how the positions he needs to be in, and then when you add in the fact that he does have, like you mentioned, he's got that ability with the ball at his feet to make people miss. I mean, in the game against Perth, they were obviously stacking 11 into the box, and we saw him literally break through 3 players with his dribbling, and that he was very unlucky to not beat the 4th. Like, he's got unreal ability with his with.
But
that
was when he hit the post, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, he's got this the natural skills and instincts that he has. If Ollie is able to continue to develop him, and I think that's something that Ollie has that ability to do. I think that we will see a very unreal talent in Mason Greenwood, somebody that people across the world will want to pay large amounts of money to come and get him when he gets older. But we will not get rid of him because he's ours.
No, yeah, absolutely. And as long as we can develop as a club and as a team at the same rate as Greenwood and Chomez,
I like it.
Chomez and Gong. As long as the club can build and grow and develop and at the same rate, or at least with those players, then we'll keep them. If we don't, then obviously they'll move on. If they, if they do reach their potential, they probably will move on. So it's all good saying we've got these potential class players, but as a club, we have to improve with them if we want to keep them. That's the important thing. And we were just talking briefly about Daniel James, and it was just a point you made there, Ash, about how, as we've seen with Rashford, sometimes his decision making isn't all there, and you said you've sort of seen that in Daniel James as well, and that I agree with. And I think he is definitely a player that's going to need to be nurtured. I think one of the things that, although he's got that immense pace, and again, like the rest of them, just look absolutely fearless, which is great to see. I think sometimes his decision making with the final ball or his hesitance with the final ball, I think that's something that can be worked on. But again, like I said, it's only 2 games into preseason. This is what I've seen of him. You, Ash, are probably more qualified to give an opinion on that. I don't know if you think that's a bit harsh on me.
No, it's not harsh. As I said, it's early days. We can talk about how he's played in the past and stuff, but he's coming into a new system with a new manager, a completely new setup, and he's finding his feet as well. So it's not harsh at all. I think it's just as long as he keeps his head down, as long as he works hard, and as long as he takes on board what the coaching staff want from him, I think he'll succeed. He is young. I think it's a bit of a weird one because we've had a lot of sort of young talents come through recently. Obviously, predominantly Martial and Rashford coming through, and we bought them fairly early, and then they sort of exploded on the scene. Then I don't want to say petered out because it's still very young for him. It's still very early for him, but I think with Dan James, I think he's got a different mentality. I think he's a lot harder working. He's willing to track back. He's willing to to put himself on the line for his team, and I think that will win him over with a lot of the fans and with the coaching staff as well. So I think he'll be someone that will be trusted at the club. So I think, as long as he keeps his head down, and there's still a long way to go for him yet, but I think he'll be successful.
And we'll have time to talk about Martial and Rashford in a moment. One other player I want to mention, and I'll come to you on this one, Matthew, as well, and anyone else, feel free to jump in. Another summer signing, Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Crystal Palace. He's played 90 minutes, I guess, to lots of 45. What are your thoughts on Wan-Bissaka so far?
I think he's been everything that we expected of him, plus a little bit more, getting that assist.
Yep.
I think a lot of people, questioning the fee, £50 million, but this is for someone who you could argue is the second best right back in the league.
Well, not just that as well. Not just that, but 50 million for someone who's so young. We're going to get our money's worth.
Years old,
yeah, we're going to get our money's worth out of him and more.
And it means we won't see Ashley Young a lot.
And that,
that's priceless. I'm willing to pay any money for that.
Yeah.
But with Wan-Bissaka, I don't think someone's dribbled past him in that lot of 90 minutes that he's played, which is pretty similar to what his whole career's been like. I think there was a stat which said up until like March of last season, only 2 players had actually dribbled past him. And that was in a year of playing football, which is just absolutely mental for a fullback. Someone who's not really expected to be, the best of the best in terms of defending. He just seems to be that kind of, throwback to sort of old school fullback in some regards. But that assist also showed that he's kind of got that ability to get forward as well, put balls into the box. And I think considering we are much more attacking side in Crystal Palace, we are going to see more of that game from him. Him always going up to the byline, cutting back, putting the balls into that danger area. And with midfield runners like Pogba, even McTominay, for example, and then the front line seems to be a bit of a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been absolutely fantastic.
Yep, I would absolutely agree. That first game against Perth Glory, nothing was getting past him.
Yeah.
and his timing with tackling is absolutely spot on as well. And it was a joy to watch, just seeing a right back with that kind of ability playing in a United shirt. I thought, Jesus Christ, how long have we waited for this? And like you say, the assist as well, that run, fantastic ball from Pogba as well. Let's not forget about that. Spotting that run, the fact that Wan-Bissaka made the run is also quite promising as well, because quite often last season, didn't I, Ash? I kept saying that players aren't making runs.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big problems we had. So to see him do that on the right-hand side of the pitch was a joy to watch. And the cross was good. When he played a few decent crosses, to be fair, Wan-Bissaka. So that was impressive as well. So I really, really have high hopes for him. And I hope that he can really make that right-back position his own. I don't know if any of the rest of you have anything to say on Wan-Bissaka or even Daniel James.
Can I just go ahead and emphasize
if you must,
that Aaron Wan-Bissaka starting over Ashley Young might be the greatest thing that I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, what's
that? Sorry, say that again.
I said Aaron Wan-Bissaka starting over Ashley Young might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It might be better than actually having seen my daughter be born. It might be better than getting married to my wife. It might be the greatest thing that has ever happened that I will ever get to witness. It's so great.
Well, we're quite clear how you feel on that one then.
Goodbye, Ashley Young. That is how I feel. Please, just go away.
To be fair, I think most people feel like that about Ashley Young as well, which is so yeah, don't feel too bad. Anyone else?
Don't think so. No,
well, let's move on then.
It's nice to have a right back. It's nice to have a full back that can defend. I mean, we haven't been asking for a lot of way, but yeah, it is nice to see.
Well, let's talk about some of the players in the team who are a bit more established. Let's go with. I want to start with Marcus Rashford. Let's stay on the positive, because for me at least, he looks very sharp at the moment. 2 very well taken goals so far. I'll say this. You may not agree, but he's really shown a Rooney-like work ethic, and I say that there was one particular moment in that game yesterday against Leeds when he sprinted back to recover a ball well into our own half, tackled the player, turned and took it forward. And that was the sort of thing that's the sort of thing that gets fans on their feet. And how many times did we see Rooney do that? And every time he'd done it, you would hear chants of Rooney, Rooney, Rooney from the crowd, because that was the sort of attacker he was. He'd come back, he'd fight for the ball, he'd win it back, and then bam, on the attack. And seeing Rashford doing that, and also the little bit of skill, he showed a few pieces of skill, but that one for the goal against Leeds was just, it was sublime. I loved that moment. I thought, yes, Rashford, come on, this is what we need from you all season. And it was a good finish, a patient finish. He didn't just drill it and hope for the best. The first goal was well taken as well, showing the striker's instinct, just on the half turn, just knowing where the goal was, putting it right in the bottom corner. For me, seeing Rashford like that this season, and he's not acting like a fool. He's being very professional on this preseason tour. Everything about Rashford at the moment I'm convinced by. I'm going to come to you first, Ash, on this one, because I know obviously with you and a lot of other people as well, Rashford you're not quite sold on him. Well, you weren't at least coming into last season, but has he made you think, okay, fair enough, just in these 2 games you've played so far?
Yes and no. I'm still unsure on him, but the thing is, I think in the 2 games so far, the first game he was okay. Brilliant finish to start off in that first game on the turn. Really instinctive, nice to see. And then I thought yesterday, he was fantastic. I thought he really improved. As you said, his work ethic was great. Good tracking back. I thought most of his decision making was very intelligent. He was always looking for the right decision and the right ball. And he did impress me. I think it all depends on where he ends up playing, I think, this season. I really do hope that he can step up because we're going to need it. I think Lukaku's probably off, and I can't see us bringing in a replacement in time the way we conduct ourselves in the transfer market. I really can't. So I can see him being probably the focal point of our attack. maybe through the middle. I don't know how I feel about that, but if he continues the way he is, I mean, he looks lean, he looks sharp, and he is working on his game, which is good to see. But it's still very early days. I'd like to see him in the next couple of games, maybe after the Chelsea game, and see how he copes with that. But yeah, he is looking very sharp. He's probably one of our better performers on tour so far, especially in that game yesterday. I thought he was great. So yeah, I'm still obviously not 100% because it's too early, but yeah, looking very good.
Apologies, I was on mute. But yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking up all these players, etc., and we must always just bear in mind it is only, well, you could argue one game into pre-season because they've each played 45 minutes in each game, so to speak. But we still should embrace the positivity, whilst also keeping in the back of our heads, it is only a game in. Matthew, again, give us your thoughts on Rashford if you've got anything specific you want to say, but I want to talk about Martial as well. For me, of all of our attacking players so far on this tour, the only one really that's, I won't say disappointed, but is yet to make an impression is Anthony Martial.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Matthew?
Exactly. So with Martial and Rashford seem to be the polar opposite in terms of forwards. With Martial, you don't get much movement off the ball whatsoever, but inside the box in terms of finishing, he's absolutely top tier. But with Rashford, you know, this pre-season aside, he'll run like a headless chicken at times, but you'll always try and run into space. But his finishing seems to be a bit off. Seem to be such contrasting players. But on the point of Rashford, I'm still sort of staying a little bit reserved about him, because in both his pre-seasons that he's played with us, he seems to be really good, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that he's actually fantastic physically. Same goes for Jesse Lingard, even though he hasn't really been great this pre-season, but you know, physically speaking, they've got a lot of energy, and the natural fitness levels are, you know, generally really high. So those sorts of players are always going to excel in pre-season. But he has been a little bit more intelligent in front of goal, and you can't really knock that. But yeah, on the point about Martial as well, I think he was playing up front as a lone striker for both of the halves that he played in. And like you said, you know, last season, he doesn't seem like that sort of player who's used to being a lone striker. If you're going to play him as a striker, play him next to someone who's going to stay a bit more central. You know, have that kind of, you know, forward who will peel wide a little bit, coupled with your proper number 9. So I think having that kind of partnership will improve Martial. But as a lone striker, he doesn't really seem to be doing much. Or he doesn't really seem to be, you know, leading the line, that player who will get into the box, because there was a few times where he was starting. And I think it was the previous game where you had, you know, likes of Chong, Gomez, those sorts of players. They were doing absolutely everything. And you saw a couple of times when the ball went out wide, and there'd be a full back there, you know, ready to cross, and there just wasn't anyone in the box. And that's where you expect Martial to be as a number 9.
Yeah.
So the thing with Martial, and for Rashford in some regards, he's not really a centre forward, but he's not really a winger. He's just sort of a forward. And I think they need to sort of, you know, nail down a position that they will play most games in, rather than just saying, oh, you know, we'll play him as a striker this game, play him as a left winger that game, just to kind of, you know, shoehorn them in. So that's my only real issue with Rashford and Martial. But I think, you know, once they get a few more minutes under their belt, once they get a few more games, you know, at the start of the season, then everything should be okay. But yeah, still a little bit reserved.
Yeah, no, I think those are fair comments. Andrew, I'll come to you next. Paul Pogba, again, if you've got anything to say about Rashford and Martial, go ahead. I want to talk about Paul Pogba briefly, because obviously there's this whole thing in the air about, is he staying, is he going? It looks like he might be staying, but anything can happen. But you can't really question his professionalism and his application to his job this pre-season. What are your thoughts?
So I'll start off on Rashford and Martial really, really quick.
Yeah.
Basically, you guys echoed what my thoughts on it so far. Rashford, I mean, Paul, the point you made about, it looks like Rashford's work ethic and the training that he's putting in it looks like it might be taking him to that next tier. And it's what we've been wanting. We've been wanting to see him work on his finishing and that.
I think in Rashford's defense, I think his work ethic has always been there, to be fair, but maybe not to the extent that we've seen it so far this preseason.
Yeah, and that's very possible. Maybe Rashford finally realized that, like, it's his time now. Like, he's got to be the guy.
He knows Lukaku's on his way out.
Yes, and so now he realizes it's his show. He needs to be the one to step up. And then as for Martial, I mean, you guys know what a Martial fan I am. I have been supremely disappointed with him because I feel like he's had an opportunity to nail down his starting spot. And so far, if you were to ask me who I would want to be my starting front three going into game one, I couldn't give you an answer, but I could tell you right now that Marcus Rashford and Dan James are the only two people I'm truly considering, and then Mason Greenwood is pushing to be the other guy.
Yeah.
So Martial's got to sort out whatever is going on in his head. Otherwise, he's going to lose his starting spot, and he's going to lose it quick.
Yeah.
As for Paul Pogba, like you said, has been showing that he is a professional at the end of the day. That he came to work, despite the fact that, he did come out in the summer and he said that he personally said he was looking for a new challenge. And then his agent did say that he obviously that he's wanting to move on. His agent said that. And obviously Paul has not come out and said anything different, which the one thing I will give Victor Lindelof a lot of credit for is his agent came out and said some shit like that. And instantly he came out and said, I'm not interested in moving. I am supremely happy here at Manchester United.
Yeah.
I give Victor a lot of credit for that because a lot of teams, if you hear Barcelona's calling, you'll take that move. But Paul Pogba has shown to be a professional, like we all knew that he is. He's not sulking. He's simply going to work, doing his job, and going home. And he might wind up moving on before the end of the summer. I don't think that this summer is going to be the summer that happens. And I actually think that new challenge Paul Pogba was talking about, we might look back in 2 years' time and say that was his Wayne Rooney moment, where when Wayne Rooney was basically starting to say, hey, listen, we need to do something, otherwise I want to move. We very well might look back and say the same thing about Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Because I think that the new challenge that he's looking for could very well be Manchester United, because I think that if we wind up making Champions League this coming year, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen because I don't know how this season's going to go, but I think if that happens, like you guys were talking about, I think that big name signing, that Jadon Sancho type signing, I think that's next summer if we make Champions League. And then I think we will start seeing the team compete for those upper echelon trophies, whether winning the league, going for winning Champions League, things like that. I think that we're not as far off from that as I think many would believe. And I think that Paul Pogba is the key to that. We all know the talent Paul Pogba has. I refuse to say that he isn't a headache at times, because he is, but he is the most talented player at the team at the moment. And when he is on form and doing what he needs to do, there's nobody that does it better than him. And we see it in the passes that he makes look so easy that others could only dream of doing.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit different to that. His new challenge that he speaks of, I don't think that's him having a Wayne Rooney moment. Sort of saying, look, I don't want this. The club needs to do something. It needs to improve. Or I'm going. I genuinely think he wants to move away. I genuinely think he doesn't want to play for Manchester United anymore. I mean, how old is he now? 25, 26? Do you know what I mean? He's only got 4 or 5 years at his best left in him. He wants to win major trophies. And it's going to be at least 3 or 4 years, maybe, before United are at that level. Which to us, we're aware of that. We understand that. But for him, does he want to wait that long? I don't think he does. I think he wants to move to back to Juventus or to a Real Madrid or even a Barcelona or whatever. I think that if an offer had came in, I think he would take it. And I think also as well that he would probably say to United's hierarchy, look, I want you to accept an offer because I want to go. I don't want to be here. But at the moment, and I think that I don't think any bids have come in because the financial package is too big. You look at the money that Real Madrid has spent already. I don't think they'd be able to do it. Not this year anyway. I mean, they still might. The window's not over yet. Barcelona have already spent some money. Juventus have already spent some money. I think that if the opportunity was there for him to go now, I think he would take it. I think if he does stay, next summer he goes. That's what I think.
And Paul, listen, I absolutely agree with you. I think that he does want to move on right now. But what I'm saying is that I think that the new challenge he could be looking for could very well still be Manchester United if we make the effort to improve. And because, like you said, he wants to win Champions Leagues. He wants to do these things. He wants his name. Because I honestly think at the end of the day, what Paul Pogba cares about is trophies. And I think that he looks at Manchester United and thinks that we're a ways off from doing that. But if we prove otherwise, he very well could want to stay.
I mean, if we bring in Bruno Fernandes, maybe another youthful, promising midfielder. If we bring in Harry Maguire, if the likes of Greenwood and Gomez, maybe Chong, if they have an absolute blinder of a breakthrough season, and we end up finishing, I don't know, second or third. I know this is obviously unlikely, but it's not impossible. If we bring the right players in, we know the quality that Bruno Fernandes has. If you've got him and Pogba next to each other, maybe with a Pereira behind, or Pereira rotating, maybe with a McTominay behind, or maybe someone else. If you bring another midfielder in, you got Harry Maguire behind as well, partnered up with Lindelof, with Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw on, as fullbacks. You look at that and you think, do you know what? That actually could quite comfortably finish in the top four if it all gels together quick enough. If that happens and we do finish comfortably in the top four, whether it be third or second, then yeah, maybe Pogba might think, do you know what? This is actually pretty good. I'm going to stay. That I could probably see happening. But because I don't think that will happen, I think he will be gone next summer.
I agree. I do think that ultimately he will most likely be gone next summer. And I think that's probably I still think it's for the best for him to move on, but I just don't think that any team can provide the money that Manchester United is looking for. So it's just the comments that he's made so far, it's really hard to come back from those kind of comments. There's still some people that hold it against Wayne Rooney for him wanting to leave.
Yeah, that does get brought up quite a lot now.
It's one of those things that it's very hard to come back from. But end of the day, you start winning trophies and people kind of forget about those kind of things. Yeah,
exactly. Well, let's move forward then. Let's talk more about the team performance as a whole. What Ollie's getting out of the players, how he's setting them out. We're seeing a much more of a high press, which I think is good. Basically, what we're seeing at the moment is reminiscent of when Ollie first took over. I think we were defending high up the pitch. We were pressing. We were looking to move the ball forward quicker, which we did. Our defense, the transition from defense to attack was a lot quicker. We were attacking in numbers. We weren't defending with 11 men behind the ball, which we've seen so often under Jose Mourinho. There's a lots of movement off the ball. It's all very promising. It's all something we've seen before. It just didn't last very long. I'll throw it out to you guys. Matthew, Ash, I mean, what are your thoughts on their playing so far? Are you impressed with what we've seen? Is it a huge improvement under what we've seen from what we've seen last season in the way that we're approaching these games?
Yeah, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there by saying it's pretty similar to what we've seen at the start of Ollie's reign. It just seems like every time we're going forward, it seems like we're going to score. Now, part of that will be due to the tactical approach that we have, the new signings, this kind of youthful approach to the game. But also part of it is due to the fact that, let's face it, we're up against weaker teams. So we are going to have the ball more often than not, and we are going to be a little bit more, dangerous in front of goal. But yeah, like you said, it just seems to be similar to what we've seen at the start of Ollie's reign.
And that's obviously a good thing, by the way. I'm not saying it's all reminiscent of when Ollie first took over. I'm saying it as a positive. Obviously, last season we just couldn't maintain it. That was all.
And I think one thing that we saw in those first few games that we're seeing again now is the centre backs going forward. I think you saw it
Victor
once or twice
Lindelof.
with Phil Jones. Victor
And Victor
Lindelof going
Lindelof,
on a
yeah.
mad run. I'll tell you what, Harry Maguire gets criticised a lot. Fair enough, whatever. But if you put him in that kind of system, if there's one thing that Harry Maguire is so uncharacteristically good at, is running with the ball.
Yes.
Like, you've seen it a couple of times where he'll go literally from his own box into the other box. Like, for a big lump of a defender, he just seems to be able to skin people at ease.
Yeah.
And I think having him in that kind of system, which allows one of the fullbacks to be a little bit more free and a little bit more, sort of ball playing, it's just going to work absolute wonders. But it seems to be doing well with Lindelof at the moment. So yeah, our first few games, it just seems to be, kind of refreshing in some regards compared to the last few games of the previous season, where we were just, so slow. A lot of the team just weren't playing well at all, especially, your bigger players like Pogba. I think Pogba, he's sort of been playing a little bit more of a deeper role, that kind of deep playmaker.
We're going to come on to that in a moment as well.
Forwards on the counter attack has just been absolutely pinpoint, to say the least. So that could be maybe a bit of a new role for him if we're adopting that kind of counter attacking mentality. So it's all positives, really.
And it's something as well that a lot of United fans were upset about with Pogba playing that deeper role. It was one of the things that, particularly under Mourinho, when he would be playing in that 4-2-3-1 formation, he would be playing as one of the midfielders, which a lot of people didn't like.
So I don't really mind that, just as long as you've got, a really competent ball winner next to him. Someone who's actually going to understand, the space he's left behind. Because let's face it, Pogba, from a defending standpoint, leaves a lot to be desired. If the ball's not, half a yard away from him, he's not going to chase it down. So if you've got a player who's going to be, mentally very good and understanding the spaces that he's going to leave, then it should be okay. Someone like an Ndidi, for example, I know we're not going to sign him, but that kind of ball winner would do really well in that system next to Pogba. So yeah, I don't really mind him playing in that kind of role.
Well, let's speaking of Pogba and speaking of him being in that two-man midfield, I'll come to you next, Ash. For me, at least, anyway, I don't know if you'll all agree, but it's looked to me that like we've actually adopted that 4-2-3-1 formation, the two-man midfield and somebody playing in that sort of number 10 role. We've seen Mata play it, we've seen Lingard play it sort of. We've seen Gomez occupying that position now and again during games. It always seems like we have somebody playing in that role, and it always looks like we've got two midfielders. But just going back to the point that Matthew made, or that me and Matthew were discussing at least anyway, about the 4-2-3-1 and Pogba playing in that too. We hated that for so long. We said, no, this isn't right. We should be playing in a 4-3-3 and Pogba should be on the left-hand side of that midfield three. But what I have noticed in these games, at least, or at least under Ollie, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does look like a 4-2-3-1 formation. What we are seeing from the midfielders is that they're not being restricted. When you look at the 4-2-3-1 we played under Van Gaal, look at the 4-2-3-1 we played under Mourinho, it was very regimented. It was always 11 men behind the ball, move forward in waves. That was sort of Van Gaal's philosophy, wasn't it? You got phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the game. It's all very regimented. But what we're seeing with this, what I believe looked like a 4-2-3-1 at least anyway, is that aspect of it is that that part of the rule book has been ripped up and thrown away. When we're in possession, we're getting bodies forward. Even the midfielders, Pogba's getting forward, McTominay's getting forward, or if it's Pereira, he's getting forward. And so it's almost like the 4-2-3-1's been reinvented under Ollie, and players have got a lot more freedom in that formation. But Ash, what are your thoughts? Are you seeing a 4-2-3-1? Are any of you seeing a 4-2-3-1, or is it just me?
Yeah, it's a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, it looks as if it is. We're playing, which is, maybe slightly more attacking because we're playing with four forwards, three behind the main striker. I've always liked the 4-2-3-1, but I don't think we should play it because I don't think we've got the squad. I don't think we've got the midfield. I'll put it this way: I don't think we've got the midfielders, the quality in midfield, to only play with two midfielders, with Pogba being one of them. Because as Matthew said, you cannot rely on Pogba defensively. He likes to get forward far too much, which is fantastic. If you're going to play him in that role, give him freedom. Let him roam, let him get forward, let him create things, because, on his day, there's not many better him at doing that. But that which leaves one midfielder to cover the defence and to win back the ball and to cover Pogba when he's getting forward. And who have we got? Matic, McTominay, not good enough for me. So I think if we're gonna keep Pogba, if Pogba's staying, and I don't want to say build a team around him, but obviously he's going to be a focal point of it. We can't be playing with one other midfielder, because at times against Leeds, we should have conceded a few goals against Leeds. That midfield got bypassed far too easy, and if it wasn't for Wan-Bissaka on many occasions getting back, tracking back, and tackling his man, I think Bailly made a couple of good challenges and a couple of good clearances. Leeds missed a few very good chances, and they got into our final third far too easy at times. And this is a depleted Leeds side. They only had 5 substitutes, so they didn't have a full squad, and it's Leeds. Do you know what I mean? We're going to be playing in the Premier League next season against 19 other teams that are going to want to batter us. We've got a lot more quality than Leeds have. So I don't think 4-2-3-1 is the way to go with the squad in the current state that it is. Although I do like it, I do think it can get us a lot of joy going forward, especially because we've lacked so much width. 3 forwards behind a May striker would be brilliant, but we haven't got enough cover behind them for me. And I think Pogba is too much of a liability defensively to rely on a 2-man midfield.
No, I would agree with that. Absolutely, 100%. I think that's a fair comment. The 4-2-3-1 it's sort of like the best of both worlds. It can be defensive when you need it to be, and it can be very good for attacking, because the two, I guess you would call holding midfielders, them being there just allows the fullbacks to get forward. So you could end up looking at a 6-7 man attack, at times, and then if they hit us on the break, suddenly you've got 2 midfielders there ready to help out your 2 centre backs whilst the rest of the team gets back. So it has the best of both worlds. It is a good formation. A lot of people probably won't like it because of how it's been used under our previous 2 managers. I think if it's used in a different way, maybe Ollie can reinvent that formation. Maybe he's just using it to give more people more minutes. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, because we did see 4-3-3 predominantly last season. We might even revert back to that. Who knows? But I guess in a nutshell, what we can say is what we're seeing so far in terms of the way we're approaching the games is positive. Obviously, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came in, that was what we've seen, especially in that game against Cardiff. That first game, obviously not the last game, the first game against Cardiff, it was absolutely fantastic to watch. All of that we are now seeing here. So he's sticking to that. That's what he wants out of the players. It's obviously what he wanted the whole of the remainder of last season, but the players just didn't have it in them, didn't have the fitness. So hopefully that can be worked on this summer. We can get that fitness up. I'm not saying that we're going to go through the whole of next season 90 minutes attacking football. It doesn't happen just in one preseason. It might take a couple of seasons to reach that, but I do think we'll see a significant improvement, hopefully at least anyway, going into this season. I don't know if any of you got anything you want to add to that.
So the 4-2-3-1, I look at our squad, and if we had a true right winger, it could be our best formation in terms of our personnel. I think that Angel Gomez and Juan Mata as 10s is exactly what we've all been calling for. We've all wanted Juan Mata to play the 10, not on the right wing. So if we can get that other midfielder, like that defensive midfielder, to go alongside Pogba, because like I said, I think that Manchester United will be getting Bruno Fernandes, and then Bruno Fernandes will be playing in that 10 role, the number 10 role. We would need to get, if we're going to do a 4-2-3-1, we would need another midfielder, because like Ash mentioned, there was times against Leeds we just got torn apart in the midfield, and it's because other than Paul Pogba, you don't really have anybody else in that midfield right now. So I think the 4-2-3-1 might be the way forward, but at the moment I think that our personnel is probably best suited for a 4-3-3, because we don't have that additional break up the play midfielder that can do it at a good pace.
Yep. He's on mute again.
He is.
I am. You're right. So let's move forward again then. Inter Milan up next Saturday, 12:30. We have seen pretty much all of our squad, by one or two, play decent amount of minutes. Ollie, I think it was on an MUTV interview. Ollie was asked a question about, making wholesale changes at halftime, and is that something he's considering doing for the rest of the tour? And he did sort of say that, the first two games here in Australia are sort of warm-up games just to get an idea of where everybody is at fitness in terms of fitness levels, and that going forward from here, it'd be more of a case of, figuring out. I think it was an interview with McFadyen, figuring out who needs more minutes, who's, that sort of thing, working more on tactics and more in-depth aspects of the squad. So what I'm thinking is we don't want to do a whole first 11 prediction like we used to. I thought we could have a little bit of fun with this. So based on the two games that we've seen so far, let's all vote on who we think should start against Inter Milan. Where if you listen to that interview with McFadyen, you get the impression that we might start seeing more a 60-minute game before substitutions are made. So he'll be looking at players who he thinks now are going to be the players that are going to be, starting the games next season. So I don't know if you're all up for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I'm thinking we start with the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I think we should all vote on who we think should be the goalkeeper starting against Inter Milan based on what we've seen so far. Now, we haven't seen... did David De Gea feature in the first game?
Nope.
No, I don't think he did, did he? So based on what we've seen so far, who are we voting to put in goal? It's a different one, really, isn't it? Because in both games, the keepers had nothing to do. Pereira had nothing to do. Romero had nothing to do.
He made a good save, Romero,
to
to be fair to him. With his legs. We should have been one.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Based on that, then I'm going to vote Romero.
Okay, I'm going to write these down so we know who's who.
I vote to start the greatest football player to ever live, Lee Grant.
So you got one apiece for Grant and Romero.
I do. I would like to see David De Gea finally get a start.
Okay, so De Gea. Matthew?
Yeah, it'd be kind of nice to see De Gea start again. But all I'm saying is Lee Grant has not conceded a goal yet. So, he's up there in the pecking order.
It's all we deal in.
Yeah, we're dealing facts.
Ash?
Yeah, David De Gea for me because he hasn't featured. So it'd be nice for him to get some minutes.
There we go then. Okay, fair enough. All right, so David De Gea is going to be in goal against Inter Milan.
Yep.
Right back.
Aaron.
Yep. Andrew?
The spider.
Yeah,
Matthew?
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka. No
I think that's
unanimous, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Wan-Bissaka. Okay. Centre-back partnership.
Maguire. No. I can't say.
Ash, go on, you go first then.
Lindelof, I'm assuming, is going to be one of them. So we'll go for Victor.
And who are you putting with him?
I'd like to see Axel get some more minutes. It might be Bailly again, because they were decent together. But I'd like to see Axel as well.
I would agree. I'm going Lindelof and Axel.
I'm going Lindelof and Axel.
Go on, you.
Well, let's make it a clean sweep then.
There we go. That's our centre back pairing. Left back.
Ashley Young.
Right, get him off the call.
Oh, God. Obviously, I'm joking. Yeah, Luke Shaw for me. Hopefully, he's fit.
Yeah, I'm going to say Luke Shaw because it's one of those positions where we just don't have any cover, really, do we? I mean, we do, but not cover that you'd want to vote for.
No, exactly.
So we go in Shaw then, left back?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why not?
And I think, are we doing this 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1? I think we should do 4-2-3-1, seeing as that seems to be what we're doing at the moment this preseason.
That's what I've got down.
Okay, so let's go midfield pairing one at a time. I'm going to go Pogba.
Yep. Pogba.
Anybody else?
I was just going to go with Pogba and McTominay as the
One at a
two.
time, Andrew. Calm down.
Then let's do both then. Okay, so Pogba and McTominay for Andrew. Ashley.
Oh, hello.
Ashley.
Ashley.
We all saw the picture.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that. I'm going to go with... Are the other ones going to be back in time? Like Fred and Damien? Obviously, I don't want
I
Damien.
don't know, but it's got to be on what we've seen.
I
let the hair slide, but that's it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for Pereira then.
Yeah, I would go Pogba and Pereira as well. Matthew?
I'd go Pogba and McTominay, only because I put Pereira in the number 10 position.
So that's 2 apiece then. Pogba,
2 apiece.
Yeah.
2 apiece.
Okay,
all right.
how about this? I will be okay if we go with Pogba and Pereira as the midfield 2 as well, because I think that Pereira. I think while McTominay we will see him get a lot of minutes this season. I think that they're trying to see what they've got in Andres Pereira.
Okay, and who we putting in the number 10 spot?
Angel
I'm gonna go Juan Mata. So I think he did all right against Leeds.
Yeah. You've gone Gomez, have you, Andrew?
Yep.
Math?
It's got to be Gomez.
I got to agree. I want to see Gomez as well.
Okay, Gomez goes in at number 10. And who's going to play on the left?
This is by far the hardest one.
Marcus Rashford.
You put Rashford on the left, yeah?
Oh, am I? I don't know.
It's a tough one. It really is.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Matthew, let's come to you first then. Have you got any idea?
No, I'm not.
I'm going to chuck a bit of a curveball and say Anthony Martial. See how he does in that position.
Okay. And who did you say, Andrew? Sorry?
I haven't said anybody yet.
Okay, go on.
This is, honestly, of all the picks, this is probably the hardest one to make. I'm going to say it's going to be Anthony Martial.
No.
But I could see Dan James also starting on the left.
I'm going Dan James.
I'm going to go with Dan James starting on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I'm going James as well. So I think that's
cool.
James on the left. Okay, who's playing on the right-hand side?
Mason Greenwood.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer, I think. I'm going Greenwood as well.
Yeah. Is that
Andrew, Matthew, right-hand side?
Yep, it's Greenwood.
Yep,
Greenwood. And striker?
Marcus.
Rashford, yeah. I'm going Rashford.
Yep.
Mauro Icardi.
Yeah, we'll swap at half time.
Marcus Rashford is the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so the team that we've come up with then that we would like to see playing against Inter Milan, David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Twanzebe, and Shaw, Pogba, Pereira, Greenwood, Gomez, Daniel James, and Marcus Rashford to start the pre-season friendly against Inter Milan.
They would batter Inter, that team.
That is quite exciting.
Here's a question. Where do you think they finish in the league?
Man United.
Yeah, that team. I think struggle to get top 4 because I think we'll get exposed in midfield.
Yeah.
I would go with 4th.
I'd take that.
I would say so as well. I would say so because whilst we might get turned over in midfield, the defense isn't bad. That one, it's a huge improvement on what we got at the moment.
Yeah.
Twice, well, more than twice as good. And that attack, Greenwood's got goals in him. Rashford's got goals in him. Gomez is good. Daniel James could be brilliant. I think that we would it'd be a season of what it used to be like. We'll just outscore you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In a lot of games.
So I think the reason why we would see that team actually do decent is because I think that we might not start off great, but I think that team would really gel together as the season went on. And I think we would see Dan James really come into his own if he got minutes every single game I think we would really, really see him become the player that a lot of people think he's the Welsh Messi, as some would say. I would not say that because I don't like making those kind of comparisons. But he has very much so unreal speed. Like he's that. I know how we just call him the Flash.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of level speed.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that team would be awesome if we do see that team lining up against Inter Milan. Wow. And that's it's in 2 days from now as well. Saturday lunchtime, UK time, obviously. So what time would that be for you, Andrew? Is that something that you would watch, or is that like middle of the night, or
morning?
6 in?
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. That's pretty good.
That's 6 in Kansas time. So that would be 4:30 in the morning if I was back in Arizona. So I will be watching, even though I have a flight that leaves out to go back home early that morning. Well, not early that morning. I guess it's more afternoon. Whatever. No big deal. But yeah,
dedication, that is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we should wrap it up. It's been just over an hour, I think, which is decent. Ash, I don't know if you want to make an announcement right now.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
He's not wrong.
on a jet plane?
Yeah. Don't know when I'll be back again yet. Keep the lyrics going. That's brilliant. Yes.
But no, in all seriousness, Ash will be taking a hiatus from the podcast. You'll be with us next week, though, won't you?
Yeah, should be.
I don't know if you want to. Well, nothing really to say, really. Is he's taking a hiatus?
Yeah.
He's going to be away for a little while, but we're in good hands because Andrew's going to be around, Matthew's going to be around, Martin's going to be around. So the podcast will continue, and we will be eager to have Ash back, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll wrap it up there then. Ash, want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, it's at Ashboyo, ASHBOIO.
And you can follow myself as well at Paul Gardner MU. Also follow the podcast account at United Stand Pod and the main United Stand Twitter account at United Stand MUFC. And thank you for joining us, Andrew. If you want to give out your details as well.
Absolutely, it's at Red Bearded Red on Twitter. Search the Red Bearded Red on YouTube. I'm not sure how much I'll be streaming. Just it's unfortunate, but with my work and all the travel that I do, internet signals can be very, very fickle when you go to the middle of the country. So I'm going to try and stream as much as possible, people, but I'm also debating on possibly taking a step back from streaming for a little bit while I've got Olivia still really, really new, and just there's a lot going on in life. So
yeah.
Hoping I can continue it, but I don't know what the future holds right now for my channel.
Well, you got to focus on what's important, Andrew. That's the main thing. That's
right.
Matthew, thank you for joining us. If you want to give out your details as well.
No worries. Yeah, it's at _Matthew. So at _MAFFO on Twitter and offsidegraphics.com as well. I'm doing a 15% off everything in July.
Boom.
So nice wee sale there.
Excellent. And next week, the podcast will be on a Tuesday evening. Manchester United are playing on the Thursday against. I know it's actually said that we probably could still do it on a Thursday because it's a midday kickoff. You guys going to be free next Thursday then? In that case,
yeah, definitely.
I don't know why I had it in my head that it was an evening game. I don't know why, but it's not. It's 12:30.
It's the one after, isn't it?
It's the one after. Yeah. In fact, all the games after that are evening games.
And that's on a Tuesday, the late one, 6:30.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, okay. So it'll be Thursday. Ignore me. Ignore what I just said. So Thursday next week should be when we do the next podcast. It's been good. It's good to be back. Hopefully we'll have some more positivity next week. I'm sure we will. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll be back next week. Okay, this is taking. There we go. No, still live.
We're still here.
Yeah. I clicked on stop broadcast and it says it's stopping, so I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
Hey, whatever happens.
There we failed to stop broadcast.
We're here
Please try
forever.
again.
Just don't say anything